Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel here at commaik. Today I'm not at home in the city but rather a bit outside in the countryside. Surrounded by fields, meadows and forests, there's a house here with a conservatory, which until now has been heated in winter with an electric heater. Of course, that gets expensive. An electric heater really uses a lot of electricity and didn't actually heat up this room very well. For this reason, we are going to renovate the conservatory and in the future heat it with a diesel parking heater, specifically the HCalorie HBH2 parking heater. This model has many special features. It has an extendable display, 8 kilowatts of power and is extremely efficient. It consumes 28% less than the previous model. In this video, I'm going to find out whether the diesel heater is really worth it and if it's a good investment. We're going to mount the parking heater back there on the wall to heat this conservatory more effectively. Are you interested in all of this? Then definitely stick around because that's exactly what this video is about. Here it is, my new portable diesel heater. It's small, compact and also relatively lightweight. A 5-liter canister is built right in and on the side there's a gauge so you can see how much diesel is left. By the way, you can also run this thing on heating oil as long as it's permanently installed. On the front, as is typical with these diesel heaters, you'll find the air outlet. There's a permanently mounted LCD display and it comes with an extension cable. Using a connector inside, the remote control with the thermostat can also be installed elsewhere. You can also mount the heater outside and then use the remote control from inside. I think that's really great. In the past, I always had to cut this cable and extend it with clamps. This time it's included. On the back of the heater, you can see the air intake. Here are the connections for the positive and negative terminals. Of course, the heater runs on 12 volts or 24 volts DC. The nice thing here is there's a suitable power supply included. My power supply has a Schuko plug and the other end can simply be plugged into the HCalorie heater. Of course, the power supply has enough output to provide the glow plug with sufficient current during startup. There's even more accessories included. A 60 centimeter long exhaust pipe comes with it. Here is an elbow for the exhaust. I haven't seen this before either. I only know the small pipe elbows. You can mount this elbow directly onto the heater. That's where the pipe attaches. That's a really nice feature. And of course, there's also the air filter for the combustion air included. There are plenty of screws, plugs and nuts as well. To make sure the warm air goes where it's supposed to, there's this connection hose. It gets attached here at the front. With this, you can direct the warm air exactly where you need it. With the diffuser attached at the front, this distributor, you can of course adjust everything even more precisely. That covers the theory of the device, but that's not all. There's also a Bluetooth remote control included. With it, you can turn the device on and off, make it warmer or cooler. This lets you control the device from a distance. There is also an incredibly useful app available from HCalorie. With this application, you can easily program the device and, for example, precisely set up various schedules and routines. By the way, you can also set the altitude mode in the app. If you use the heater up on a mountain, the oxygen content is of course much lower than down in the valley. The air supply for diesel combustion automatically adjusts, so you always have optimal combustion. HCalorie promises in this context 28% less fuel consumption compared to the previous model. Well, lots of claims and lots of theory. I'm going to install the diesel heater with my dad back there in the corner. The HCalorie HBH2 is installed indoors. We'll drill a hole through the thick wall for the exhaust and route the exhaust pipe outside. This way we can easily heat up the winter garden when needed. In winter, when it's freezing cold outside, you can sit here comfortably and don't have to freeze. Alright, let's just get started. Come along. The heater is going to be installed back here in the corner. Since it's small and portable, the heater can simply be placed on a board. We'll drill a hole through the board for the exhaust and then through the wall. The heater has special feet to elevate it. These feet are included in the package and are screwed on down here. On the underside, you'll also find the connections for the exhaust and the combustion air. The housing has a cutout on the side for the exhaust. With the angle piece, you can get past here easily. That's really nicely done. If you install the heater in a visible spot, you can use this to discreetly hide the exhaust and the exhaust pipe. Overall, I really like the build quality. Nothing wobbles on the portable heater, nothing rattles, everything is mounted securely. First of all, 2 brackets are mounted here on the wall, then the board goes on top onto which we will screw the diesel heater. The heater is about 2 kilograms lighter than its predecessor and is made of aluminum. You can really tell. It's really not heavy, and even with the additional 5 liters of diesel in the canister, I still stay mobile. You can just take it with you when you're camping or traveling in your motorhome. Just pack it up and spend the cold season a bit warmer. Attached the brackets to the wall and placed the board on top. Now we first need to determine exactly where the opening for the exhaust should go through the wall. And for that, of course, I first have to mount the exhaust hose here on the heater. On the underside, which I showed you earlier, there are the 2 openings. One is for the fresh air, where the combustion air is drawn in, and the other is for the exhaust, where the exhaust gases are blown out again. You also have this small green hose, that's the fuel hose. A pump delivers the fuel from the tank into the combustion chamber. And now I have to attach the exhaust elbow to the exhaust pipe where the housing is punched out. I could simply slide the elbow on and secure it with the supplied clamp. Then I would already be done. However, the diesel parking heater is not operated in a ventilated outdoor area but indoors. Let's talk about safety. I already have a carbon monoxide detector here, which will be placed near the heater. That definitely makes sense. As you know, if you mess around with carbon monoxide for too long, you get tired, fall asleep, and simply never wake up again. For that reason, I obviously have to make sure that the connections are absolutely airtight. That's why I'm using an exhaust assembly paste. I'm going to thoroughly coat the connections between the pipes with this paste. After that, the elbow component goes on smoothly and can be securely fastened to the main housing unit with the clamp. N'est-ce pas? Oh. Once that's done, the exhaust hose will be mounted onto this opening here. With the 60 centimeter long exhaust pipe, we could even go right through the wall. The exhaust hose is slid over here and secured with a clamp. Of course, exhaust assembly paste goes in between here as well. But these hoses are also available in other lengths, for example 3 meters in one piece. You can carefully bend the curves yourself, but there are also pre-made 90-degree elbows you can buy. If you want to know where you can buy the right accessories, take a look under the video in the description. There, I'll link you to my sources where I got all this stuff from. By the way, if you want to be on the safe side, the exhaust hose should be well insulated. The pipe gets really hot during operation. A good 100 degrees Celsius and more are definitely possible. That's why I use these heat protection sleeves for the HCalory. You just slip them over. I don't know if that's still asbestos. What kind of material is that? This way, these exhaust hoses are well insulated. That way you can also lay the exhaust pipe in areas that are sensitive to fire or heat. When applying the exhaust paste, please make sure that none of it gets into the opening or inside the pipe. Only apply it to the outside. Also, when sliding the pipes together, nothing should get inside the pipe. This stuff clumps up and becomes really hard. And if the exhaust path gets blocked, you'll notice it. In the best case, the heater will simply stop working. In the worst case, it will smoke like crazy and become leaky because the exhaust gases can't be properly vented. That's why it's better to apply the paste a bit further back in a nice thick layer. As soon as the heater is running and the exhaust pipe gets really hot, this paste will burn in, become very hard, and seal the connection. Then the exhaust elbow is firmly and securely installed. I really like that these pre-drilled holes weren't just simply drilled into the metal and then a screw put in. That would only work once or twice. After that, the hole would be worn out. Here, actual threads have been cut in. That way you can fasten the screws properly. Another thing I want to show you are the feet that come with the heater. Because of the exhaust pipe, I can no longer place the diesel heater flush on the floor. That's precisely why there are these 4 sturdy feet. They get securely screwed on underneath and effectively lift the heater up a bit. The feet also have pre-drilled holes at the bottom, so I can securely and very stably screw the heater onto the board. If someone does bump into it, you don't have to worry about the heater falling over and diesel leaking out. Otherwise, the whole place would stink for decades. You need to be aware of this. When you fill in the diesel, use a funnel and don't spill. Diesel has the lovely habit of smelling forever. We've placed the diesel heater on the board just as it should be later on. And here's an important note, the exhaust is predetermined for this side. At the front here is the opening for the warm air as well as the control unit. You can of course just hang the control unit somewhere else using the extension cable. It would have been nicer of course if we could have placed our heater the other way around, then the exhaust would go out on the other side. However, there isn't enough space to route the warm air duct around the back here. The power cable would also end up on the visible front side. That's why we decided to install an elbow here. These are the ready-made elbows. One of them goes on here and is sealed with assembly paste. Then we'll go through the wood here so that there isn't a bend on the outside where someone could bump into or burn themselves. And under the wood, the exhaust pipe will go through the wall here. Now we're going to make an opening here and then run the 25mm pipe through the wall to the outside. The muffler will be installed there and the pipe will be securely fastened so that the exhaust gases can be safely released to the outside. A small opening will also be made for the power cable. This way the cable can be plugged directly into the socket below, and then our conservatory heater is already ready for a test run. Let's see if we can get the whole room nice and warm. We're done. The HCalorie HBH2 diesel heater is securely mounted on the wall. The board is firmly screwed to the bracket and the exhaust is routed out through the hole at the bottom. Now I'll just plug it in and the device has power and can get started. The diesel tank is filled up. I could also disconnect the diesel hose at the bottom and connect it to a large diesel canister down there. I've done that several times already. With a tank adapter, I can connect a large canister and don't have to refill the heater up here. If you want to know how I did it with the other heaters, take a look at the top right corner. I'll link the other videos there for you. I'm going to turn the heater on now by pressing on for a long time. The menu is in color, the heater's fan is spinning up. In a few seconds, the pump will start clicking and will pump the fuel from the tank into the combustion chamber. Then, on level 4, it should already be producing a good amount of heat. HCalorie offers its own app for their in-house diesel heaters. Here you can also connect multiple heaters. With Bluetooth, that's no problem at all. In the settings, there isn't much you can do except set the password and switch between Celsius, Fahrenheit, feet and meters. You have the option to change the language. The manuals and user help are also directly integrated into the app. There are various ways to use the heater. As you can see here, I have set 20 degrees as the target temperature. Below, the automatic start-stop is marked in red. This means that the temperature will be maintained at 20 degrees. If it drops below that, the heater automatically turns on and heats up again. If the room temperature is above that, the heater switches to standby mode. Below the target temperature, you'll find some additional data from the voltage to the current room temperature. Of course, I can also disable the automatic control and operate the heater manually. Here I can either use just the fan mode, or I can switch to heating and use the plus and minus buttons to set the heating temperature. We installed the HCalorie HBH2 diesel parking heater and let it run for quite a while. My tests will continue for a while, but I can already give a brief interim conclusion at this point. The conservatory has noticeably warmed up. Within an hour, we easily increased the room temperature by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius using level 2 out of 6. Controlling it via the app is extremely simple. What fascinates me in particular, and what sets this heater apart from my other diesel heaters, is the ability to set a target temperature via automatic control. The heater then maintains this temperature continuously. When the set temperature is reached, it switches to standby. If the temperature drops too much, it automatically turns itself back on and continues heating. This of course saves diesel fuel. My other heaters would only go down to level 1 and keep running. They never switched off. I really like that, as the control via the app is also very clear and user-friendly. If you're out camping somewhere or traveling with a motorhome, this heater is a perfect fit. However, I did notice a small drawback when using it indoors, the noise level. Not only the diesel pump, but also the ventilation noises are noticeable. From level 3 onwards, it becomes a bit more difficult to have a normal conversation. At that point, the thing really makes too much noise and racket. It's no longer pleasant and I had to turn it down. But the heater isn't just supposed to warm up the room when someone is present, it's meant to keep the temperature here in the winter garden comfortably above freezing. In winter, sensitive plants are placed here so they don't freeze outside. It should stay nice and warm without the heating costs going through the roof. The heater runs on diesel. Alternatively, I can also use heating oil. It's permanently installed. In terms of price, that definitely makes a difference. And if I simply run the tank hose downwards here, I could even connect it directly to the large heating oil tanks that are in the house. What do you think about this project? What's your opinion on the HCalorie HBH2 diesel heater? I think the diesel heater is a great device. It's portable and I can take it anywhere. Above all, I really like the workmanship. It's solid quality. What experiences have you had? What advice can you give me? What questions do you have? Feel free to leave a comment under the video. You'll also find a promo link for this device below the video. Take a look to see how much of a discount you can get. I've described everything for you below the video. I'm looking forward to your feedback, your comments, and of course a like for my video. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.